At my wedding, my in-laws mocked my mother in front of 204 people, then said to one of the guests, "That's not a mother, that's a mistaken address." My fiancé laughed. I didn't. I got up and called off the wedding in front of everyone. Then I did this. The next day, their world collapsed because the wedding venue was so over the top it almost felt like a parody. White columns, crystal candle holders, ceiling moldings the brochure claimed had been admired by JFK himself, assuming you believe brochures. Around 200 guests, each in their best suits, heels, and last names. Politicians, architects, people you really ought to know. In the center, me and Adam. Well, mostly Adam. The family's golden boy. I was the shiny acquisition with nice teeth and a suspiciously high IQ. That's how most of them saw it anyway. I sat there with a glass of water, yes, water, and waited for it to be over, or to begin, or to fall apart. One of those. Mom sat next to me, quiet, composed, in a dress she'd found on clearance and altered overnight. Hair perfect, as always. She's a hairstylist, can conjure an updo out of thin air. Someone at the next table whispered, "Did she do her own hair? Impressive." Impressive is raising a kid solo for 25 years, in the same tiny apartment, wearing the same sneakers. That's impressive. This? Just hair. I flipped through the wedding booklet. Bios, love story, wine list, 4 kinds of cheese, and glowing thanks to the families. Adam's parents had titles, honors, grateful for their generous support and wisdom. My mom? Just Pam, hair artist, heart of gold. No last name. No mention that she raised me. Alone. Since I was 3. No child support. No breaks. Just a hairdresser with a heart of gold. Like she's a massage chair. I shut the booklet. Took a sip. Looked at Mom. She gave me that tired smile. Her, let's just get through tonight smile. And then Ronald stood up. Adam's dad. The kind of man whose smile comes with a price tag. He raised his glass, cleared his throat, and said, "Tonight we celebrate more than the union of 2 remarkable young people. We celebrate a story of success, a story of someone rising above their circumstances." Pause. This is America, after all. The land of opportunity, where even if you weren't born with a silver spoon, but say a comb in your hand, you can still make something of yourself. Polite laughter. Measured. I saw Mom's fork twitch. Deborah, Adam's mother, hid a smile behind her glass. One of the aunts giggled into her napkin. "Not everyone starts from the same place," Ronald continued. "But if you're driven, if you want more, you can become the bride at a wedding like this. Even if, once upon a time, your work was a little closer to the people." Closer to the people. Wow, thanks, Ronald. You just turned my mom's entire life into a campaign slogan. He sat down to the clink of glasses. Someone murmured, "Well said." Another added, "To America. Trailers to penthouses." Then came Deborah, the kind of woman whose voice is honey, but her spoon's full of arsenic. "Monica is proof that talent doesn't depend on geography," she said, smiling just wide enough. "I've always admired people who take from life not what they're handed, but what they've earned, especially when no one ever taught them how." Smile. Sip. Pause. "I'm sure much of Monica's gift comes from her mother," Deborah said, staring right at her. "The ability to see beauty in simplicity, to work with your hands, to stay connected to ordinary people. That kind of gift, well, it doesn't come with diplomas. It's innate. What some might call golden hands. Mom set down her fork, calmly, no sharp movements. I knew that gesture. It meant, stay seated. Don't break a glass over someone's head. My face was burning. I wanted to stand up, scream, throw something. But I stayed, because we don't make scenes, not in public. During dessert, I overheard one of Adam's cousins whisper to another, "Is it true Monica's mom isn't even a licensed stylist? Like she just learned on her own? That's wild. Our gardener plays piano by ear too." Fine. Whatever. I expected that kind of petty. Let her have her fun. But then it got worse. I stepped away from the table just to breathe. And that's when I passed Deborah chatting with someone. I didn't even catch who. I was heading back when I heard it. Clear as day. No maybes. Monica looks stunning. Couture bride for sure. Her mother, though, I honestly thought she was someone's +1. That's not a mother. That's a mistake in a dress. And the laughter. Soft, but sharp as a slap. I stopped. Just stood there. Deborah looked right at me and took a sip. Didn't flinch. Adam laughed. "Mom, seriously. Careful. Someone might actually get offended." That was it. I remembered sitting with him on the roof of his place in Portland. Him in an old t-shirt, scratching the side of a Coke can. "If the world ever falls apart, I'll stay," he said. "We'll get through it. I'm your fortress." Weird thing to say, but sweet, I thought. Now here I was, standing in a room full of people mocking my mother. His fortress was laughing. I walked over to Mom. "Let's go." Adam was suddenly at my side. "Moni, wait," he whispered. "They're just joking. They love you. It's just their style." "Their style?" I echoed. "Humiliating my mom with a glass of Prosecco in hand. Is that the vibe now? You're overreacting. It's our day. Don't ruin it." "I'm not ruining it. I'm ending it." Mom tried to stop me. "Honey, please. We can take it. It's just one night." "No, Mom. We don't have to take anything. Not anymore." I turned to face the room. Silence. Thank you for the evening, and for the very clear reminder of who I never want to become. And we left. No drama, no tears, just left. The string quartet fumbled, voices behind us. "What's happening? Is she serious? She ruined her own wedding." "Wrong, darlings. I just saved my own life." The diner was open 24/7. Back in the day, it was full of students dodging their dorms or cab drivers on a coffee break. Tonight, dead quiet. Just a woman in earbuds by the window and an older waitress who clearly recognized us, but politely pretended she didn't. Mom slid into her usual seat by the wall. I set down her tea and sat across from her with black coffee. She looked at me over her glasses and said quietly, "We don't have to hide, honey." I held her gaze for a second. "We're not hiding. We're just back at the start." This place knew everything about us. I sketched my first architecture assignment here. Mom used to dry my soaked hair with napkins when I got caught in the rain. We once split a single piece of cake because we had $6.12 between us. In this chipped-up booth, with its mismatched chairs and sticky menu covers, I first felt like maybe, just maybe, I could change the world. Or at least buy my mom a lunch that didn't come with a timer. We didn't talk much. The silence felt safe, like exhaling. Mom wasn't one for drama. She worked 3 jobs and never once called it sacrifice. just life. A mall salon, house calls, kitchen hair gigs for her regulars. She could foil highlights and dye roots at the same time, then pick up groceries and make dinner, all without whining. She didn't do breakdowns. She did to-do lists. Dad left when I was 4. I barely remember him. Just a shadow and a voice yelling. Mom wiped her hands on her apron, closed the door behind him, and never said his name again. We lived in a 2-bedroom on the top floor of a building that was colder inside than out in winter. I did my homework on the salon floor, between the hairdryer and a cart of perm rods. Mom brought me tea in a styrofoam cup and always said, "Just don't lower your head. That's all." I saw her fall asleep standing in the stairwell with grocery bags in her hands. I saw her clipping coupons and drinking tea from a thermos because coffee was too fancy. And I saw the way her eyes lit up when I brought home an essay from school, as if I'd won a Grammy or something. Architecture happened by accident. There was this school field trip, some walk through alleyways and rooftops, redesigned under a new urban renewal plan. One girl asked, "Why are these benches so crooked?" And I said, "Because the person who designed this didn't give a damn about people. They cared about checkboxes, not cities." That was it. I couldn't unsee it. Got a scholarship. Moved to New York. Lived in a box of a room where the bed took up 90% of the space. Worked in the library. Ate instant ramen. Burned out. Kept going. Sophomore year, my friend and I came up with Urban Bloom, an app that turned abandoned city lots into usable, livable spaces, like crumbling courtyard, community request, design proposal, execution. 3 years in, the city noticed. Then a funder. Then the first actual money. Mom never quite got what the app did, but one day she said, "You're making something beautiful. You're tough, like your forehead." And honestly, that meant more to me than any TED Talk. Adam showed up at a city planning forum. He was representing his parents' real estate company. I was repping Urban Bloom. We clashed during the panel. He talked numbers, I talked neighborhoods. He pitched mixed-use commercial zones. I asked why people needed shopping plazas when they didn't even have a single park bench. Then came a post-panel debate. Then coffee. Then dinner. Then the kiss. He told me, "You treat architecture like art. I want to learn that from you." And I believed him. He seemed different, thoughtful, grounded. Nothing like his father, who keeps his hands in his pockets even when shaking yours. Or his mom, whose compliments always have a side of passive aggression. Our first visit to their place was straight up absurd. A literal glass house. Glass, steel, fountains, LED mood lighting. Mom came in wearing her good discount store shoes and the coat she tailored herself. She brought handmade soap as a gift. Deborah took the box like it was still damp. "Oh, so artisanal. Did you make this yourself?" Ronald shook Mom's hand and said, "Thanks for raising such a creative daughter, especially considering your workload." Like she'd been raising me while cutting 10 heads of hair on the side. During dinner, Deborah leaned in and asked, "So your company specializes in urban lawns?" I said, "No. We design public spaces that make people feel like they matter." She smiled at me like I'd handed her a finger painting. Mom said nothing that night, but on the subway ride home, she whispered, "They're not like us, but you're still you." I tried not to see it, tried to believe it was just a cultural gap. Adam said things like, "They joke that way with everyone," and "They really do like you, babe." But every time Mom talked to them, I felt it. Shame. Not for her, for them. The way they tilted their heads with that rich people empathy. The way they put interesting in air quotes. The way their smiles always skipped the apology part. I was living between two worlds, soup in a thermos versus oysters on toast. Only one of them ever felt like home. When we got back from the diner, it was past 3 a.m. Mom went straight to bed. I just sat in the dark, and suddenly I realized I hadn't just walked out on a wedding. I'd come back to where people look you in the eye, where they don't laugh into their wine glasses, where Pam, hair artist, heart of gold, isn't a punchline. She's my mom, and she's the reason I can start over, on my own terms. With the door fully closed behind me, the headquarters of Urban Core Group sat on the corner of two not quite main streets in what used to be a concrete wasteland 10 years ago. Now, it was the heart of modern urban design. My heart. My project. Which is funny, really, because when I walked into that lobby, fresh off ditching my own wedding, I didn't feel like a runaway bride. I felt like I'd finally come home. The security guard looked up and froze. He knew me. He knew I was the founder of Urban Bloom. What he didn't know? That as of this morning, I was also the majority shareholder of Urban Core Group. 5th floor. They were already there. Adam, Deborah, Ronald, a few board members, some external guys in expensive suits who were either investors or lawyers, or both. The toasts from earlier still echoed in my head, now sounding more like bad stand-up. I walked into the boardroom like I was just picking up a jacket. Calm. Head high. They expected fury, or silence. The best outcome for them would have been me staying humiliated and powerless. Unfortunately for them, I was neither. Deborah stood, as if she still hoped I'd show up in my wedding dress mid-meltdown. "Oh, Monica," she said, fake warm. "I'm glad you could join us." "I'm glad too," I replied, though I didn't come here to join anything. I dropped a folder onto the table. Silence. That flicker in their eyes. The one people get when they realize the ship might not be as watertight as they thought. "Before we start," I said, "we need to update the voting structure." Deborah rolled her eyes. "This isn't that kind of meeting." "It is now," I said, "because as of 9 a.m. this morning, the ownership structure has changed." I opened the folder. Documents, signed, notarized. Originals, copies, trail of everything. Ronald leaned forward. "What is this?" "Shareholder resolution," I said. "New structure, new vote, new conflict of interest policy." I laid out the paperwork. As of today, my company holds 52% of the voting shares of Urban Core Group. 3 holding entities, 3 months of negotiation, 4 layers of legal firewall. All clean. Call your lawyers. They'll confirm it. Ronald shot up from his chair. "This is personal. This is about the wedding. Something someone said, and now you're lashing out." Deborah put her hand to her forehead and groaned. "How could you do this to us? We welcomed you. You were like a daughter." "This isn't revenge," I said. Calm, cold, clear. "I started buying shares when I realized you were using my name to pitch projects, but leaving me out of every investor meeting. When my ideas showed up in your slide decks, but I never got a seat at the table. I didn't want control. I just wanted my voice to count." I looked at them, one by one. "But then, you humiliated my mother. Publicly. That's when I understood. This was never a partnership. So fine. It'll be a takeover. I walked to the head of the table, Deborah's usual spot. Nice chair, by the way. Just enough recline. Solid armrests. None of you, I said, will have access to Urban Core Group moving forward. Not you, not your partners, not your family's funds. I'm not here to burn the place down. I'm here to clean house. A full audit of all projects and contracts from the last 3 years begins next week. Silence. Heavy enough to feel. Adam hadn't spoken. He was staring at the table like it might save him. Finally, he looked up. Monica, this isn't what you wanted. You always said you wanted to be a part of this. I did, I cut in. I wanted to be on the team, not a prop in the family brochure, not a decorative success story for your mother's next TEDx talk. I came in thinking I could build something with you, with all of you. But you thought I was just a vibe, a pretty little symbol of humble beginnings. Well, congratulations. That symbol just voted you out. Deborah gasped. You used us! No, I said. You used my name, my story, my work. Now you get the real me. Ronald was red, the kind of red that screams entitled rage. He stepped toward me like volume would fix it. You think you've won? I gave him a small, sharp smile. No, I think you never noticed who's been driving this car for a while now. You were too busy checking your reflection in the rearview mirror. I gathered the papers, snapped the folder shut, walked toward the door. Behind me, shuffling suits, stunned silence. At the threshold, I heard Deborah's voice, sharp and desperate. Adam, you're not going to let her do this, right? He said nothing. I passed the front desk, past security, past a small herd of reporters that had gathered by the elevators. I didn't stop. As the elevator doors closed, I heard someone hiss behind me. We're suing. This is abuse of power. Maybe. But this wasn't the end. This was inventory. A beginning. And a point of no return. A week passed. Urban Core, once shiny, smug, untouchable, started crumbling like a house built on rotting beams. First, a quiet headline in an architecture blog. Then a local paper picked it up. By Monday, CNBC and Bloomberg. Scandal at the core. Contracts, cronyism, and a family exposed. The internal audit, ordered by the new board, found that one particular project, the one Deborah Kramer proudly paraded around in her speeches, was bloated, to the tune of $3 million. Even worse, 2 of the contractors that got paid? No websites, no reports, no proof anything was ever actually built. The city froze the payments, and someone from the Planning Commission, anonymously of course, told reporters too many contracts were approved under special circumstances. No public review, no pitch meetings, just signatures. It raised red flags. Investors bailed. One major fund, who'd just been considering a long-term deal, publicly pulled out. Bloomberg called it corporate quarantine. Ronald dumped his remaining shares below market value. Deborah vanished the same week photos of her house hit foreclosure lists. And Adam? Gone. Or so I thought, until 9 days later, I was in my office at Urban Bloom, finishing a presentation for the mayor's office, when the front desk buzzed. "You've got a visitor," said the guard. "No appointment. Says it's personal." I didn't even look up. "It's Adam, isn't it?" "Yes, ma'am." "Let him in." He walked in looking like a golden retriever left out in the rain. The same lost puppy routine that once felt vulnerable. Now, just performance. "Monica." "I'm listening." I didn't know about the contracts, I swear. About my mom, the deals, all the back-end stuff. I wasn't on the board. They kept me out of it. I nodded. He took it as an invitation to sit. Monica, maybe it's not too late. I miss you. Not the company. You. I miss you. His voice said one thing, but his eyes were scanning. Walls, coffee table, security guard. Anywhere but me. Love, Adam, I said, isn't something you keep quietly inside when it's convenient. It's something you say, out loud, when it's not. You stood there, laughing, while they humiliated my mother, while they mocked where I came from. And you said nothing. Worse, you smiled. I didn't know it would go that far. But you knew, and you chose silence. You chose comfort. And now I choose too. I tapped the trackpad, sending the presentation. The city had removed Urban Core from its list of preferred vendors. And now, so had I. He sat frozen, waiting for something. I added softly, You laughed, Adam. At me. At my mom. At everything that made me who I am. I paused. Maybe it wasn't a breakup. Maybe there was never really a relationship. Maybe I built something in my head that you never lived in. He opened his mouth, closed it. I used to think I misjudged you. Now I think I misjudged myself. You didn't want a partner. You wanted a prop. I still love you, he whispered. No, I said. That's not love. Goodbye, Adam. He stood, took a step back, then another, and walked out into a hallway full of reporters. Cameras flashed. Questions flew. He said nothing. 2 weeks later, Urban Core was blacklisted by the city. 2 board members fled the country. And me? I opened a foundation, a scholarship program for girls from under-resourced neighborhoods. We called it the P Foundation. P for Pamela. My mother. The hairdresser with scissors in one hand and the strength of a storm in the other. At the ceremony, the mayor handed me a plaque for my contribution to urban renewal and moral renewal. I took the mic and said, I didn't grow up with a legacy fund. No land, no name. Just a mom, a blow dryer, and a belief that hard work isn't weakness, it's power. I don't want to tear things down. I want to build. But sometimes, to build something real, you have to rip out what's been rotting. That night, Mom and I sat in our usual booth at the 24-hour cafe. She sighed. You could have just let it go. You didn't have to do all this. I sipped my tea, smiled. I wasn't getting revenge. I was making it clear. We don't have to hide anymore. I still think about that night sometimes. The wedding, the exit, the boardroom, their faces. Not because I regret it, but because I wonder, what would you have done? I wasn't out for blood. I just refused to be stepped on. Me, my mom, our lives. What do you think? Did I go too far? Or did I do what had to be done? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I actually do read them. And if this story hit something in you, subscribe, like, share. Stay tuned. More stories are coming.